Hello, it's Nicko with Food Cravings, and today we're making barbecue sauce, or what I call the best barbecue sauce recipe ever. With its origins shrouded in mystery, I was determined to piece it all together as best I could. So after doing a little digging, it is evident that no one is really sure where the term barbecue originated. Conventional wisdom suggests that upon landing in the Caribbean, the Spanish used the word barbacoa to refer to the natives' method of slow cooking meat over a wooden platform. So for all you die-hard barbecue fans out there, think again. Furthermore, the word barbacoa isn't referring to the method of cooking, but comes from the type of wooden structure used by Taino Indians as a way to smoke their food. Upon further research, I also found that the Heinz Company introduced the first tomato ketchup in 1875. One can argue that most barbecue sauces are just a type of ketchup that contains tomato paste, vinegar, sugar, and spices. The standard grocery store Kansas City style barbecue sauce is ketchup, vinegar, sweeteners, herbs, spices, and of course, liquid smoke. The first thing we'll need is a little ketchup. To that we'll add generous amounts of water. Next, we'll give that a mix using our trusty spoon. And here's a pro tip. You'll want to mix until everything is fully incorporated, meaning you don't have that water to ketchup ratio separation. Here we can already see it's starting to come together. As you may already know, there are many applications for barbecue sauce. Besides your traditional slow roasted spare ribs, you can also make pulled pork sandwiches like the one you see here and add a little drizzle on top. It's also good for roasted chicken, basting it in the oven, or for dipping french fries in and chicken tenders. So with that, let's dive right into it. And now we'll pour the mixture into a small stock pot, like I did here, and you'll want to make sure to get every last drop. Next, we'll turn our heat up to medium-high before adding in the brown sugar. And after adding that in, I was on a quest for another drizzle and came back with a few drops of liquid smoke. Next, I added in some dried chili pepper, and here you may choose to add in as little or as much spice as you'd like. Next, I decided to hit that with a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper, and at this point I was looking for something to counterbalance all the spices, and it was at this point that I decided to use an acid, so I came back with some vinegar. By now, having realized that we were here to build flavor bombs, I had a brilliant idea of adding in some Worcestershire sauce, or as some call it, Worcester sauce. Halfway through this point, although we were approaching murky waters, I decided to go in for something sweet to kind of counterbalance all that acid and spice. So I came back with another brilliant idea of adding in some maple syrup. And of course, we weren't doing any of that high fructose corn syrup stuff. We were actually adding in 100% real maple syrup. Here I also remembered to add in some dry mustard. And by now I had an even bigger feeling that in layering all these flavors and building a supreme sauce like this, things were gonna come out very tasty, a bit spicy, and rather smoky too. Next, we were getting ready to hit that with a little bit of sugar. But before that, I realized I was in the midst of creating the best barbecue sauce recipe ever. And it was at this point when I came down with a drizzle and made it rain some vinegar. And once all these ingredients were in the pot, it was now time to give it a stir. So I took my trusty wooden spoon, as you see here, and did just that, making sure to break up all the mustard, incorporate all the sugar and the rest of the ingredients evenly. And here's a pro tip. It's important to continue stirring throughout as the mixture begins to heat up so that you're left with a smoother consistency, much like I have here. And although there are bits of dry ingredients left around, they'll begin to dissolve once the mixture cooks down. And the next thing we need to do here is let this mixture simmer gently. Once that was done, I searched for the proper tool to continue. At this point, I grabbed my trusty whisk and began whisking away as the mixture continued to thicken. And the way you'll know this is working for you is when all the bubbles start developing. Shortly thereafter, I added in some extra seasoning and gave it another stir. At this point, I also noticed the mixture coming to a boil, so I continued stirring around and around in order to avoid the mixture from catching underneath or burning. And at this point, I felt another boil coming on. As I stirred continuously, the mixture thickened properly. And here's another pro tip: once the mixture bubbles away like this, you could just let it do its thing. So I did just that before picking up my trusty whisk to give it a mix. And at this point, as I was mixing away, the mixture incorporated with all the flavors and spices more evenly. It was at this point in which the aroma started permeating throughout the kitchen, and it smelled like one of those Midwestern style barbecue rib shacks. I mean, this was really beginning to smell like the best barbecue sauce recipe ever. It was amazing and well beyond epic proportions. And that's Chef Nicko style. So with our barbecue sauce thickened nicely, we were almost done. But before that, I took my trusty spatula and decided to test for thickness and give it a few final stirs, you know, just to make sure. So I continued stirring the mixture until I was satisfied with the desired consistency. And of course, I advise that you do the same, especially if you're up to tackling the art of making your own barbecue sauce from scratch. And once you realize just how easy it is to make this, you'll come to the same conclusion I did of never having to purchase any barbecue sauces ever. And the beauty about this is that you can make it as sweet or as spicy as you like. After all, what better way to be in control of the ingredients than watching what you yourself put into this? So go ahead, give this a try and dazzle your family, friends, and neighbors with what I call the best barbecue sauce recipe ever. And here's the final pro tip: you'll want to make sure the sauce cools completely before transferring it into the refrigerator, and I recommend that you do this for at least 4 hours, or for best results, overnight. And although this sauce is typically used for pulled pork or ribs, it also goes great on chicken and of course brisket. And if you've watched my oven roasted chicken recipe, you'll surely agree that this could be also used as a nice basting over the chicken as it slowly roasts in the oven while the savory flavors set in. And here it was time, you guessed it, to go in for a taste. So I took a dab off the spatula onto my finger and tasted it. The sweet savory flavors along with the subtle hint of smokiness and spice couldn't be beat. And by now, I surely knew that this was the ultimate barbecue sauce recipe ever, if not the best barbecue sauce recipe. And I hope you've enjoyed my recipe for the ultimate barbecue sauce. For ingredient amounts and more info, please visit www.chefnicko.blogspot.com, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Bon appetit, and see you in the next video recipe.